So, the latest episode of Doctor Who, I would probably compare to this. Wait, why have I done that? Power of the Doctor. So the Power of the Doctor is the final episode in which Jodie Whittaker plays the Doctor, and at the same time though, it's a centenary special, which means, as far as I'm aware, that the latest episode of Doctor Who celebrated 100 years of the BBC, which is quite remarkable. And basically the episode follows the Doctor as she faces off against, the Master, Cybermen, Daleks, and other villains as well, with the help of old and new companions. And honestly, I thought this episode of Doctor Who was harmless fluff. And, I mean, it had a lot of great moments, I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time though, it's one of those episodes where the more you think about it, the more you start to question all the plot holes going on in the episode and how it was just kind of a load of nonsense. I mean, it was enjoyable nonsense, but at the same time though, it definitely was one of the best episodes of Doctor Who I've ever seen, and I am glad that this era of Doctor Who is over. This era of Doctor Who when Chris Chibnall was a showrunner, because Chris Chibnall, who, is not a bad writer, he wrote Broadchurch, and I think he did a good job of Broadchurch, can't write sci-fi though, and you do get some people which can do both. You get people like Rusty Davies who can do normal TV dramas in It's a Sin and also Years and Years, which actually had a bit of a sci-fi element to it. But then he can also write Doctor Who because Rusty Davies was a showrunner on Doctor Who during the Chris Wilkinson and David Tennant eras. And you also get people like Stephen Moffat who can do both. Look at the BBC Sherlock series, which I think is one of the best TV shows of all time. And then he was also a showrunner during the Matt Smith era and Pete Capaldi era as Doctor Who. And although I didn't love that time of Doctor Who, I kind of fell off it in the later stages of the Matt Smith era, I still liked quite a few episodes from him, I'm not going to lie, particularly the first series with Matt Smith. But the thing was with Chris Chibnall as a showrunner, he just makes everything so confusing and dull. And even so, some of the episodes do have energy and are entertaining to watch, they've also lacking that excitement which the David Tennant era had. Honestly, go back and watch, episodes like The Runaway Bride from the David Tennant era, and it's exciting. Sure, it may have plot holes, but you don't care because there's always something happening, and it's done in such an exciting way. You've got this brilliant writing from Rusty Davies, you've got an amazing performance from David Tennant, you've got this comedic performance which is kind of serving as comic relief in the episode from, Catherine Tate as done a Noble, and also you have this great musical score going in the background from Murray Gold, and none of the new Doctor Who episodes have that, and to be honest, they haven't had it for a while. It's not just Chris Chibnall's era, it happened with Peter Capaldi's era as well. In fact, it kind of happened with Matt Smith's era, and I loved Matt Smith as Doctor, but, Doctor Who's been losing its spark for a very long time now, and I think Chris Chibnall's era of Doctor Who, the Jodie Whittaker era, is a perfect exemplification of that. It's a perfect example of an era of Doctor Who which just, in the end, feels, unfortunately disappointing. And even so, there were some highlights in this era, it should have been a lot better. And that's kind of how I feel about Jodie Whittaker's last episode, The Power of the Doctor. And by the way, every single time I say The Power of the Doctor, I always think something about Lord of the Rings, because obviously, Lord of the Rings was a Power TV show recently, but that's not important whatsoever. But yeah, you get the point I'm making. It's just, the episode was fine, but it could have been a lot better. And the reason they did that little cake thing, in fact I was eating a little, orange chocolate chip muffin, orange flavour because it's Halloween soon, by the way. But the reason I did that little, thing, that little skit, if you will, at the start of this review today, is because the episode for me, the Power of the Doctor episode, felt like I was eating a cake. And obviously, if you look at me, I have much experience of that. I've eaten a lot of cakes over time. But here's what it felt like. It felt like I was eating a cake. So, you're eating it, you're enjoying it, it's quite tasty. Have some sprinkles on it perhaps, which make it a bit more tasty than it actually should be. And then by the time you finish the cake though, you go, wait, why did I eat that though? Because now I've put on quite a few more calories, and the cake wasn't actually that nice. I mean, it was okay, but I've had much better cakes in my time. and it didn't actually have that much flavour, and it just had sprinkles on it to add flavour, had icing on it to add flavour, and that's how this episode of Doctor Who felt. You know, you had great moments in there, which were the sprinkles, which was the icing on top of the cake, and the episode, like I said before, was entertaining to watch. But once I finished the episode, I went, wait, what? And what was the plot? I don't understand what the plot in this episode was. I just made up a plot at the start of this review today. Honestly, I was like, let's just say something. The Master was in it, I remember the Cybermen were in it, I remember the Daleks were in it. There was something going on with all of them. I think the Master was kind of orchestrating it, and that's not a spoiler because I'm still not sure myself. But at the same time, though, when I finished the episode, I was kind of like, but it made no sense. And that's not to say it doesn't have perks, hence the sprinkles and the icing, and hence the fact that I still felt that the cake was a bit tasty. But once I finished the cake, once I finished the episode, I was kind of like, yep. What? I don't really get what it was. And like I said before, the episode had its perks. I think that Jodie Whittaker was really good in this episode. And I even think that Mandip Gill, who plays Yaz, who's played Yaz throughout the whole of the Jodie Whittaker era, I thought she was good in this episode. I thought Mandip Gill as Yaz was probably at her best. I mean, I don't think she was brilliant, but she was at her best. And every time John Bishop was on screen, I quite enjoyed his, presence in the episode. Granted, he wasn't in the episode that much, which I found a bit odd. Was something happened with John Bishop, like, behind the scenes that we don't know about? Because I do know he got COVID, and maybe this episode during COVID, so perhaps he was ill during the filming. I don't know, I'm just having a complete guess there. But it did feel like we had a John Bishop-shaped hole in this episode, I'm not gonna lie. It felt like we needed a bit more comic relief in there. And at the same time, though, there was some nice surprises in the episode, which I'll get onto a bit later. And also, it's nice seeing old companions back. That's not a spoiler. It's been revealed already that some of the old companions from, like, the classic era of Doctor Who, the era of Doctor Who, it went from, the first Doctor to the seventh Doctor. We had Doctor like Sylvester McCoy, Peter Davison, Tom Baker, and so on and so on and so on. Not going into much detail there just yet, but still, nonetheless, it was nice seeing those companions back, particularly Ace, because I have seen a couple episodes of the Sylvester McCoy era of Doctor Who. Even though I haven't watched many of the classic Doctor episodes, I have seen a couple episodes from him when he was facing off against these white Daleks, and there was his special weapon Dalek. And I remember me and my brothers used to have that episode on repeat, or that brief episode, should I say, because it was like a couple of parters. It was like a multi-part episode, if you will. Me and my brothers used to have those episodes on repeat back when we were young, and I remember quite a lot of those episodes and just watching them over and over again. And I remember Ace on those episodes with the bats and things like that, and how she used to like whack the Daleks and then they would just completely malfunction. That was all fun, and I like seeing her back. And also, there's a scene in the episode where the guy who plays the Master, who does a great job, by the way, not as good as John Sims' Master. And, I don't think anyone replaced John Simm's Master. I know he had Missy at one point during the peak parody era, but to be honest, I never really got into it, I've got to admit. But still, I loved John Simm's Master so much, and I do think that the guy who plays the Master here, I forgot the actor's name off the top of my head, but the guy who plays the Master in this episode of Doctor Who did a good job as well. And there's that moment in the episode where the Master, who is like in the form of Rasputin, dances to Rasputin by Boney M, which was an okay moment. I was honestly a bit thrown off by it because it kind of came out of nowhere, and it felt very much like Chris Chibnall was trying to copy Rusty Davis's writing in that one episode of Doctor Who with John Sims' Master when he starts dancing to the Scissor Sisters. And that's a great episode, by the way, and that moment feels earned. But the problem with the dancing to Rasputin in this episode, it didn't feel earned with the Master. It just kind of felt, okay, we're doing this, great. It's, like I said, light-hearted fluff, it's harmless fluff, but I don't really care about it. It's just kind of like, oh, Rasputin by Boney M, decent song. Do we really need this moment, though? At the same time, though, it was nice seeing the Cybermen back, it was nice seeing the Daleks back. I do feel a lot of the Jodie Whittaker era has been lacking Daleks. I know they've been in the New Year specials. And by the way, having New Year specials is such a shit idea. Sorry, it really is. I miss Christmas specials, and hopefully, and I got my hopes here that he definitely will, I have my suspicion he will, I hope Rusty Davis brings, Christmas episodes back, because Rusty Davies is returning to showrun Doctor Who with the next era, which I'll get onto a bit later in this video. But at the same time though, yeah, I know the Daleks will be in the New Year specials, and I remember watching the first New Year special with Jodie Whittaker, was it back in like 2019 I want to say, going into 2020, so actually it was 2020, yeah, because it was New Year's Day. I remember watching that episode and actually quite enjoying it, and then I didn't watch the New Year special after, and, I just felt this era was being lacking Daleks, and it was nice in this episode, but did they need to be there? And also, I kind of felt the same way about the Cybermen, and also U.N.I.T in this episode as well. And I liked U.N.I.T because whenever they were, I liked them in this episode, but I think they were a lot better in the David Tennant era again, because in the David Tennant era, every time you had U.N.I.T on there, they were like super cool, like, ooh, who are these guys? And this great musical theme by, Murray Goulburn in the background, every single time on screen, I'm singing it horribly, but still, you get the point I'm making. Every single time on screen, I was like, these guys are awesome. I didn't get that in this episode, though. And, again, it had its perks. It was fun to watch, and there were some great moments, and actually the visual effects for a BBC episode of TV were pretty good. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, by the way, because I'm very tired today. I had to wake up at 5 AM this morning, as I have to do most Mondays, the day I'm filming this review, but still, nonetheless, the visual effects were pretty good for, an episode of television on the BBC. They were decent, and I liked a lot of the episode, but at the same time, no, I wouldn't say I liked it, but I was entertained by a lot of the episode. But then I finished it, and it was kind of like eating the cake all over again. It's like going back to my whole cake metaphor, my whole cake analogy. It felt half-baked. It felt like the ingredients were there for me to love it, but then, at the same time, though, the final product wasn't quite up to scratch. You know what I mean? Like, the ingredients were there. Cybermen, the Master, Daleks, having a bunch of the old companions return. Maybe some other cameos. Not going to go into spoilers just yet, because you haven't seen the episode. But, at the same time, no, you also had that moment when the Master danced with Rasputin. There was energy in this episode. But it had all the ingredients in there to be a great episode of Doctor Who, but it just lacked that excitement, that thrill, and that, just riveting sense that the David Tennant here had. It lacked the amazing writing which the David Tennant here had of Doctor Who, and I feel that's kind of, it just lacked the writing that any of the episodes of David Tennant here Doctor Who had, and I feel that this episode, it could have been a lot better. It should have been a lot better. And, it did have some amazing moments, but like I said before, it was like eating a, mid-tier cake. You enjoy eating it, but at the same time, by the time you finish the cake, you're thinking about it and go, wait, why did he eat that? Because it wasn't actually that nice. Sure, it had icing and sprinkles on it, but that was to make it nicer than it actually was. And also, now I finished the cake, I'm kind of annoyed at myself because I put on more calories, and much like the episode, I finished The Power of the Doctor last night, and I was like, yeah, it was Harmless Fluff, but what was it? I really don't know. And, like I said before, I do think Jodie Whittaker's era as Doctor Who is an unfortunate disappointment. It should have been a lot better, and I never understood the criticism with, oh my god, the Doctor's a female. The Doctor can never be a female. Get over yourself. It's fine now. There's no reason whatsoever why the Doctor couldn't be a female. So I was all in for that. But the thing is, though, I watched a video of Matt Smith recently, who actually played the Doctor. He played the 11th Doctor. I watched a video with him recently where he basically said that the Doctor is only as good as her writing. And that is spot on. And the writing during the Jodie Whittaker era has been shockingly poor. Like, it's not exciting. More often than not, it's confusing. It meanders on, and it's completely unfocused, and it's not compelling. And it's just kind of bad, to be honest. And that's really upsetting to say, because I like Jodie Whittaker as an actress. I think she's great at Tackle the Block. I loved her in Broadchurch, and I think she's been a good Doctor, but I think she would have been a lot better if she had a different writer under her belt. If she had someone like Rusty Davies writing her, if she had someone like even Stephen Moffat writing perhaps. Although saying that though, I got bored of the pick party here, so maybe not, but you get the point. Like, I don't know. I feel just that Jodie Whittaker's era was an unfortunate disappointment, which is why the next era of Doctor Who, which Russell T Davies is coming back into light, has to be brilliant. I've heard that he wants to give the show a Marvel makeover. I'm all in for that. Go on, Russell T Davies. Just make me love Doctor Who again, because I haven't loved it for a long time. And I do feel that's down to Stephen Moffat, but at the same time, no, it's also, you know, I tried watching the last series of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, and I really struggled. I watched one episode, and it was like an episode with Weeping Angels in the last series with her, and I got to the end of the episode. It was only like an hour long. I don't even know if it was that, and it felt like it was 2.5 hours long, and I got to it and got, oh my god, it was so tedious and such a slog, and it should have been better. And even so I didn't watch all the episodes of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who ever, I didn't really watch the last series, I've still seen enough to definitively say that it is an unfortunate disappointment. That's one thing I forgot to add in there. But hopefully Russell T Davies, you know, regenerates the show, if you will. It just literally came out off the top of my head. Hopefully he does, because, man alive, I'm excited. That little trailer, that little like 30-second trailer we got for the next couple of specials, the 6th anniversary specials of Doctor Who, look exciting. David Tennant's back, but he's not the same Doctor, but he kind of is. I'm having a guess there, I'm just theorising. Ncuti Gatwa, who I love from Sex Education, looks absolutely brilliant. Just that little 5-second glimpse you see him, like, what the hell is going on? That looks great. We have Catherine Tate back as Don Noble. We also have Neil Patrick Harris as the villain called the Toy Maker. And although I didn't love How I Met Your Mother in the end, I loved him in How I Met Your Mother. He was probably one of my favourite characters in that show because of his character development and because of the way Neil Patrick Harris played him. And also Neil Patrick Harris has already worked with Russell T Davies on It's a Sin. And I thought, you know, Neil Patrick Harris was only in one episode of It's a Sin from what I can remember. But he left such a mark on It's a Sin. Like, not to go into detail there, but the way he played the character he played in that show was actually quite tragic and quite meaningful and quite moving at the same time. And so I can't wait to see Neil Patrick Harris play a villain in this show. And that's something I never thought I'd ever say, but that's Russell T Davies for you. That is Russell T Davies for you. He makes things like that work, and I personally can't wait. I really can't, because I just feel it's going to be great. I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant, and I want to love Doctor Who again. I really do. And I haven't loved it for a long time. And now that Russell T Davies is coming back, who's not only just the perfect writer for Doctor Who, but he's also a brilliant writer himself, I'm so excited for it. Just that little 10-second glimpse of the 6th anniversary special looks compelling and looks captivating, and I never ever got that from all the hours of the Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who or all the hours of the Peak Capaldi Doctor Who that I sat through. I never got that from any other Doctor Who's, and that's not, you know, to take away anything from those actors' performances. I think Jodie Whittaker was a good Doctor, same with Peter Capaldi, but the writing was just poor with them, I got to admit, and it felt like it was just too confusing and that it was too obsessed with itself. But come on, Russell T Davies, just make Doctor Who fun again. Fingers crossed he does. But yeah, going back onto what I said before, Jodie Whittaker's final episode as a Doctor was Harmless Fluff. And it did have some good moments though, some like really good moments, which I'm gonna get into now. So spoiler here, in case you haven't seen the latest episode of Doctor Who, The Power of the Doctor, and you just haven't got around to watching it yet, and you are planning to, so spoiler here. Would I recommend the episode, by the way? If you are a fan of like classic Doctor Who, but you haven't watched any of the latest Doctor Who episodes because, like me, you kind of fell off the series, I probably would recommend you watch this episode. But in the end, it's up to you. It's just, I wouldn't recommend it, but I wouldn't not recommend it at the same time, if you get what I mean. But anyway, like I said before, spoiler here in case you haven't seen the latest episode of Doctor Who. So anyway, we had some great cameo appearances from some of the classic Doctors. Like, we had Paul McGann in there, who played the 8th Doctor. I personally never ever thought we would see Paul McGann in one of the newer Doctor episodes, whether it was like the next era of Doctor, or whether it's the 60s specials, or whether it's a centenary special in this episode. I never thought we'd ever see Paul McGann again, but I'm happy that I was proven wrong. He was in this episode, and he wasn't in it much, but it's made me want to go and watch that Doctor Who movie he was in now, because you know that Doctor Who movie he was in, I haven't actually seen. he was the Eighth Doctor, and he was in like a TV movie from what I know. It was like, it didn't really do well though. It wasn't really received well, critically, and from the Doctor Who fan base. And so he's kind of like a cult favourite Doctor from what I've heard. A lot of people online has been saying he's underrated, and so now after just that little 5-second moment, it felt like 5 seconds. It actually might be some like more 20 seconds. The 20-second moment with him in that episode has actually made me want to go watch the Doctor Who movie with him in now, because Paul McGann was pretty fun to watch, and it was really surprising. Literally, when he came on screen, I went, "Oh wow, wow!" I didn't expect that. And also, we had Colin Baker come into there, which was pretty cool. I must admit, I never watched any of the Colin Baker episodes, but that made me smile, even though I hadn't seen any of them. And then Sylvester McCoy came back on screen in his reunion with Ace in the episode. Even so, the reunion kind of felt half-baked, like, I've already referred to a bit earlier on. That was one of the things we felt half-baked in the episode, because he was kind of there in hologram form when he was talking to Ace. Even so, that reunion just didn't feel complete, I'm going to be honest. It was still nice to see, because, like I said before, I have seen a bit of Sylvester McCoy here, Doctor Who, so I was watching that going, oh yeah, I remember him, watching him as a kid. And I quite enjoyed the episodes I saw of him. Granted, I didn't see a lot of episodes of him, but I did enjoy the episodes of Doctor. And also, I like Sylvester McCoy as an actor as well. Loved him as Radagast the Brown in the Hobbit movie, so there you go there. And also, you had Peter Davison come back as well. And Peter Davison, from what I remember, played the 5th Doctor. Or was that Tom Baker? No, he played the 6th, didn't he? He might have even played the 7th. Again, that shows you my amazing knowledge of classic Doctor Who. But still, nonetheless, it was nice to see him in there. And fun fact, by the way, if you don't know this already, about Peter Davison, he's the father-in-law of David Tennant, because David Tennant married Peter Davison's daughter. And funnily enough, Peter Davison's daughter, like I said before, Peter Davison, who played the 7th Doctor, I think, might play the 6th Doctor, but Peter Davison's daughter was the Doctor's daughter in the episode The Doctor's Daughter with David Tennant, and then David Tennant ended up marrying her. Hope you understand what I mean there. But yeah, basically, David Tennant is actually the son-in-law of one of the older Doctors, which is just awesome in my opinion. But still, yeah, it was great to see Pete Davison in there. And also, you had that little moment at the end with all the companions in like a therapy circle. It wasn't therapy though, but they were kind of talking about their experience with the Doctor, and I really liked that moment. It felt sweet. Even so, I'm not a fan of classic Doctor Who. I was watching that moment going, oh right, I can see how this would appeal to a lot of classic Doctor Who fans. And I was watching that moment kind of like, oh, this is really sweet. It kind of made me want to go back and rewatch some of the classic Doctor Who episodes. Even so, I have seen a couple of the Tom Baker ones, and they're not for me. That moment it made me smile, weirdly enough. I didn't expect it to, but it did. And also, funny thing here, by the way, just a side note, in that moment in the episode where Jodie Whittaker's talking to all the past Doctors, we didn't see Matt Smith's Doctor. Granted, we didn't see Peter Capaldi's Doctor either, because Peter Capaldi has openly spoke about the fact that he loved his experience in the show, but he doesn't want to do it again. He doesn't want to come back to Doctor Who because he feels that it would tarnish his memory of it. And also, we didn't see Chris Eccleston's Doctor because he's openly spoke about the fact that he fell out with the BBC and he fell out of the rights in the show, which is unfortunate. But still, yes, we didn't see some of the other past Doctors, but at the same time, though, Matt Smith has openly spoke about the fact that he would be up for returning anytime. He's spoken about that. And yeah, we didn't see David Tennant's Doctor in that moment as well, but we did see David Tennant's Doctor pop up at the end in that great moment. It's like, I remember this face. But yeah, we didn't see David Tennant's Doctor in that moment, but we also didn't see Matt Smith's Doctor, which makes me think, and I'm just theorising here, I don't know, but it makes me think that Matt Smith's Doctor is going to be back in the 6th anniversary specials. Now, I know Matt Smith's been busy recently filming, House of the Dragon and stuff like that, but at the same time, though, David Tennant's been busy as well. David Tennant's been shooting the 2nd series of Good Omens. So I wouldn't put it past Russell T Davies bringing in Matt Smith in the 6th anniversary specials. And I think there's a reason they left Matt Smith's Doctor out of this special. I'm theorising, but call me crazy. I think there's a good chance Matt Smith is in the 6th anniversary specials, or at least one of them anyway. Because we know going to be 3 6th anniversary specials, and we know David Tennant's in all 3 of them. but I think Matt Smith will really be one of them. Just having a guess. But anyway, yeah, going back on some other spoilers as well, John Bishop, like I said before, wasn't in a lot of the episode, and I kind of felt that was a missed opportunity. We kind of needed that comic relief. I don't understand why he wasn't there. There was space for him to be in this episode, and then it kind of felt that because they couldn't get John Bishop in all the episode, they brought in bloody Bradley Walsh. Bradley Walsh, who was in the first 2 series with Jodie Whittaker, and who I didn't really like in the show whatsoever. Honestly, if you look back on my views of like the first 2 series of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who on this channel, I'd always go, what the hell is Bradley Walsh doing here? I don't see the character he plays. What's the character's name he plays? What's it, Graham? I don't even know. But yeah, every time I just see Bradley Walsh in Doctor Who, I think, you're Bradley Walsh who does the flipping chase. What are you doing here? But yeah, he's back in this episode, and he comes into there, and even Jodie Whittaker's doctor goes, what are you doing here? And Bradley Walsh is like, wait, what are you doing here? I'm like, what are you doing here? And that question, you know, the question of why Bradley Walsh in this episode is never answered, but still. I mean, that was fine. You know, I just didn't know Bradley Walsh in this episode. And also, Ryan just happened to be in Patagonia. In other words, he actually played Ryan. You know, they couldn't get him to be in this episode. But anyway, you know, it did have a lot of good moments. And like I said before, I love seeing the old Doctor back. Even though I'm not a fan of classic Doctor Who, I still like that moment. And the episode had a lot of energy, and at the same time, though, it was harmless fluff. But it lacked that excitement, and it lacked that great writing, and that cohesive story, and that just sense of thrill that the David Tennant era of Doctor Who had for me. And I think that kind of exemplifies my feelings, that kind of rounds off my feelings on the Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who as a whole. And also, one other thing I've got to mention, by the way, is the music in this episode is not as good as it should be. Like, I always think that music in TV shows and films tells a story, and I couldn't tell you what story the music was telling you in this episode. I couldn't tell you that. Whereas, if you play the music from the more gold era of Doctor Who, I could easily tell the stories it was telling. Like, just the theme for the Runaway Bride episode is brilliant. Donna's theme is fantastic as well. And these are, you know, great pieces of music which gets stuck in your head and it's just so well done. I hope Murray Gold returns. I really do. I hope he returns Rusty Davies, because his music for Doctor Who just is unbeaten still. It really is. And also, by the way, one other thing, and this is the last point I make, I promise, but one other thing, is that Jodie Whittaker's generation was remarkably short. Like, all the other Doctors, from what I can remember, since I've been watching it since Chris Eccleston era, you know, all the other Doctors had kind of a bit of a speech before they regenerated. You had Chris Eccleston going, you know what, I was absolutely fantastic. It says a bit more than that, but, you know, you had a bit of a speech with Chris Eccleston before he regenerated into David Tennant. Then David Tennant had the iconic last line of, I don't want to go. And that was absolutely brilliant. And then when Matt Smith's Doctor regenerated, like, I'll always remember when I was this face. And that's such a heartbreaking moment. It just bittersweet at the same time. And then Peak Paoli's Doctor had a speech. I don't remember that well, got to admit. But Jodie Whittaker's Doctor didn't actually regenerate it. It was just kind of like, I want to see one last sunset. And then she saw the sunset. And then regeneration went on for about 5 minutes, it felt. And then she regenerated David Tennant. I actually thought the episode was going to end with her just regenerating. And the next episode would pick up with her regenerating into David Tennant. Like, the episode would end halfway through regeneration, but then it didn't. And we still had that last 10 seconds with David Tennant, which I really liked. But at the same time, though, I was just kind of like, it could have given Jodie Whittaker a bit more of a send-off. Like, I just kind of think that exemplifies Christopher North's writing as a whole. He's not that good with writing monologues, nor is that good with writing anything Doctor Who. But there you go, that's just my opinion. All in all, I enjoyed this episode of Doctor Who. I enjoyed the centenary special Power of the Doctor. But at the same time, though, like I said before, it was like eating a mid-tier cake. And at the end of the episode, I was kind of like, why the hell did I watch that? And what the hell was going on? And so, all in all, I'd probably say that the Power of the Doctor episode, I'd probably say that it's a 6 out of 10. And if I was gonna rate Jodie Whittaker's era Doctor Who as a whole, I hate to say it, but I'd say it's about a 3 out of 10. And that's not to take away from Jodie Whittaker's performance. I think she's been as good as she could have been with this writer, with Chris Chibnall as a showrunner. But, like I said before, it's that thing that Matt Smith said. And he played the Doctor, so he would know. You know, it's that thing which Matt Smith said, that the Doctor's only as good as their writing. And that is perfectly showcased with Jodie Whittaker. She's a good actress, but the writing has just been sluggish with her, and it's been confusing, and it meanders off, and it's not exciting, and it's just, the ingredients are often there to have a great episode of Doctor Who with her, but they just end up becoming half-baked, and the final product isn't as tasty as it should be. And like, I wish her era was so much better. I really do. I wish her era got me back into watching Doctor Who. And I've got a feeling the next era will, because I love Ncuti Gatwa, and you've got Russell Davies returning, and David Tennant returning for a couple of specials, and so is Catherine Tate, and there's some other companions returning, and things like that. So I just want to love Doctor Who again, and I wish Jodie Whittaker did that for me. And I wish the music was better, and I wish I felt more for the companions. The companions never had arcs in this series. In the David Tennant era of Doctor Who, Rose had an arc, Martha had an arc, Donna had an arc that would often go all the way over these series as well. Rose's arc went through the whole of Chris Eccleston's era, to the end of David Tennant's era, and even to the bit of the 50th anniversary special as well. Rose had this fantastic arc, and the same can be said to a degree with some of the other companions' arcs, like Amy and Rory, and also River Song to a degree, which kind of started in the David Tennant era and went into Pico Paudia. And by the way, I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity we didn't have River Song in this special. The fact that we didn't have River Song meet the first female Doctor, I thought that was a bit of a missed opportunity, not gonna lie. But still, nonetheless, you got into the Pico Paudia and you had the Clara arc as well. Even so, I kind of lost interest in those arcs. Those companions all had arcs which carried on for the whole of those Doctor's eras. But at the same time, though, you never got that with any of the companions in Jodie Whittaker's Doctor era. From what I remember, from what I've heard, I mean, apparently there was a bit of romance going on between the Doctor and Yaz during this era of Doctor Who, but that wasn't really touched in the episode. So I'm just guessing that from what I've heard, and I kind of thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity, because it kind of felt like something going on there, but it wasn't really touched on. And there was no arc with Graham, Bradley Walsh's character, who is Bradley Walsh in the end. There was no arc with Ryan, and it's just really disappointing in the end. It was a really underwhelming era of Doctor Who, and they need to make it better again. They really do. But saying that, though, I do think Jodie Whittaker's era of Doctor Who went out with as good of a bang as it could have been. It went out with... It finished as good as it could have. That's what I'm trying to say. It was harmless fluff, and the episode could have been a lot worse, and by no means am I saying it was great, but it was good enough. That's why I say it was entertaining, it was fluffy, I was like eating a cake, but, it was not anything to write home about. There you go, that's my opinion on the Power of the Doctor. Should have been a lot better, and Jodie Whittaker's era should have been a lot better, but heck, it's over now, and let's look forward to a new era of Doctor Who, with Russell Davies returning, and with Ncuti Gatwa as a Doctor. But for now, I'm going to say that Jodie Whittaker's era of Doctor Who is a 4 out of 10 for me, and I'm also going to say that her final episode, the centenary special of Doctor Who, The Power of the Doctor, is a 6 out of 10 as well. Anyway, guys, what do you think of the Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who? And also, what do you think of her final episode, The Power of the Doctor? Please let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, guys, thank you as always for watching. And if you haven't yet, please click down below and subscribe on this video. And look forward to many more, both film and TVs, come very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.